Welcome to episode 123 of Paper Brief, where we dive into the latest in tech and machine learning. I'm Charlie, your host, and today I'm joined by Cleo, an expert in AI. We're unpacking an intriguing paper today. The paper we're focusing on is Cache Me If You Can, Accelerating Diffusion Models Through Block Caching. It's all about speeding up diffusion models, which are crucial for generating realistic images. So Cleo, can you break down what diffusion models are for our listeners?
Absolutely. Diffusion models are a type of generative AI that's trained on massive datasets to create new images. They work by starting with random noise and gradually refining it into a coherent image. It's a bit like turning a foggy picture into a clear one, step by step.
That sounds like a process that requires a lot of computing power.
Yes, it does, and that's where this paper comes in. The authors discovered that there's a good deal of redundancy in the computations needed for each step, so they introduced block caching to reuse some of the previous computations.
Can you explain how this block caching works?
Think of it like this. If a layer in the network doesn't change much between steps, why recalculate it? Block caching saves the output from these layers and reuses that output in subsequent steps instead of starting from scratch every time.
That sounds like it could lead to some inaccuracies. How do they deal with that?
The researchers thought of that. They use a technique they call scale shift adjustment to align features properly and avoid those potential artifacts.
Interesting. And did they demonstrate whether this actually improves the speed of diffusion models without sacrificing quality?
Yes, they did some experiments that showed block caching can actually improve image quality at the same computational cost. They tested it on different models and with different solvers, and the results were pretty consistent.
It's really fascinating how different techniques can drastically change the efficiency of these models. Are there any applications of this research that you find particularly exciting?
Well, faster image generation means it's easier to integrate these models into everyday apps, like photo editing or even creating art. This could make AI tools more accessible and cost-effective for the general public.
I love that idea, democratizing AI. But what about potential drawbacks? Does the paper discuss any limitations?
They do. The paper points out that while block caching can speed up the process, there are still some steps where recalculation is necessary. Not all computations can be cached without impacting the final image quality.
I see. It's all about finding the balance. I think that wraps up our deep dive for today. Thanks, Cleo, for your insights on Cache Me If You Can.
Anytime, Charlie. It's always exciting to explore how we can push the boundaries of tech and AI.
And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on Paper Brief. We'll catch you next time for another paper exploration. Stay curious.